Aloha and welcome, everyone. Welcome to this inaugural ENV Matters podcast, and this segment is titled Bulky Item Appointment System. My name is Marcus Owens. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Department of Environmental Services, and joining me today is Chris Hirota of our Refuse Division. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me, Marcus.
Chris is the Assistant Refuse Collection Administrator and has been instrumental in the implementation of the appointment system that's bulky item that's going island-wide right now, and also bringing aboard the software that allows the public to make these appointments. Chris, let me start by giving the audience a little bit of brief history of our bulky item collection system here in Honolulu. From our records, bulky item collection actually began in the 1960s, and it was only on an annual basis at that time, and then it became so popular that they started implementing, more often, coming about once every quarter, up until the mid-2000s. Then at that time, it was downtown Honolulu, which had the bulky item collection more on a systematic basis, going about every other month. The rest of the island was on an on-call system, which we called outside of the downtown metro Honolulu area. Then in the mid-2000s, around July 2006, when administration went with an automatic once-a-month bulky item collection schedule for the entire island, which meant no more call-in. The Refuse Division would be coming on a schedule every month to pick up your bulky items. Mm-hmm. Then, in 2017, the City Council asked the City Auditor to conduct a report on the bulky item collection service. The comprehensive report reflected inefficiencies in the bulky item program that stated it needed to improve in timeliness, cost, efficiency, effectiveness, and also enforcement. Well, back in 2019, in June, almost 1 year ago, ENV launched the bulky item collection appointment system pilot in the metro area of Honolulu from Foster Village to Hawaii Kai to try to improve the inefficiencies covered in the auditor's report. And now, about 1 year later, ENV is now taking that pilot program and turning it island-wide for the rest of the island of Oahu. Mm-hmm. So, Chris, let's get started and get the people watching today a little bit of what this program is. And before making an appointment, though, what should the public do to instill that they have handled their bulky items correctly? Before they even actually make an appointment, what should they do?
Oh, yeah. So if there's any what we call either lightly used or usable life on the item, they should always try to donate it to one of the reuse organizations. And those can be found on our website at opala.org. So it's a pretty user-friendly website, and if they have questions, they can always call 768-3200 for assistance.
Tell me about the bulky item pilot that happened from the past year from Foster Village to Hawaii Kai. I know it started last year in June 2019, but from now until then, there have been a few tweaks. Tell us about what we're going to see starting here in July.
Okay, so one thing that we learned during the pilot through data gathering was that some residents were unable to make an appointment for up to 20 days, and that's something that we don't, or that we found we could improve on. So what we did was we increased the appointment availability through a little bit of schedule tweaking, and so now people should be, it should be much easier for people to get an appointment that fits their schedule.
The appointment system right now is going island-wide, right?
Yeah, island-wide. I'd like to add one more thing about the tweaks. Sure. We had a request through one of the council members for an increase in collection at the multi-unit dwellings, and so what we did was instead of having the multi-unit dwelling make an appointment through the AOAO, we allowed each individual unit to make their own appointment. So we felt that was it allowed the individual unit owners or the occupants of those individual units to make appointments on their own. So more freedom within the program.
It also stopped a lot of phone calls coming in too as well, right?
Yes, it did.
Tell me about right now how this new system, the pilot system, is going to work. What are the outside areas outside of the metro area that they haven't been used to calling in? Break down how they're going to have to make an appointment.
Okay, so what we did first was we sent out letters to the impacted, the rest of the island outside of Metro Honolulu. And in that letter, it specifically, or it specifies in how to do it. So the first step would be to go online. And on that online tool, there's a address bar that the resident would then type their address in, and then they can select from a menu of different either white goods, which are the appliances, refrigerated appliances, or and that would be like refrigerators, air cons, or we have non-refrigerated, which are the washers, dryers, washing machines, etc. And then so they would make an appointment from those, and then you can also make what we call soft goods, which are furniture, carpet, lumber, stuff like that. And so they log on, they select from those lists, and then they hit the submit button, and it'll send them a confirmation email, and then we would go there on the day that they select. So
let me make this straight so people
Yep.
watching, so they can actually make 2 separate appointments.
correct.
How many can they make per appointment?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. So up to for single family homes, it's up to 5 soft goods, and then for appliances, it's 2 per appointment.
Per appointment. And then that's also similar to the individual units in the condos as
Correct.
well.
And then if they opted out, if a multi-unit opted out, they would be able to make 20 as a AOAO.
That's an entire whole building.
Right. And then up to 5. Or maybe I think it's 8. 8. Yeah. Thanks for the clarification on that. 8. Yeah.
Not a problem. Chris, we also heard from the pilot, we hear a lot of feedback. One of the feedback that we got was, what if an item that they were wanting to set out as a bulky item is not on the programmed list?
Okay, so you mean when they go through what they do? You mean when they're going through that list, if it's not listed on
When they're
there?
going through the online list.
Okay, they would check there's a button for other, and then they would check that button, and then they would put in the comments section. They would describe what that item is.
And then just type that in and just send it on.
Yeah, provide the information. So it would be easy for the crew to understand, and then kind of describe that item, and
Gotcha.
we'll remove it.
The other thing is, we've heard too from the feedback from the public, is there a mechanism for them to either modify their appointment or delete their appointment?
Okay, so currently there is not a way to modify. They would have to cancel and then reschedule. We do sometimes, if it's called in close to the, we are able to slightly modify. I would just say that they should have it canceled and rebook it, and that we're working with the vendor to modify, or what would it be called, develop the software a little bit more to accommodate that request.
So that option is not available now, but it could be in the future.
Correct, yeah.
Good. Condos and apartments, they're handled a little bit different. You touched upon it. Now, every apartment complex initially is handled as basically each individual unit. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then you touched on it too. If an apartment owner or property manager wanted to take under their wing scheduling, they could do that as well.
Yeah, what we did note during the pilot was that some AOAOs requested or wanted to keep, what do we call it? I don't know. It's not privacy, but they keep that responsibility under their own wraps. So they can keep more control over over what's being set out. So that is an option. They can opt out of the individual units to manage the entire building as a single entity.
All right, Chris. What about if residents don't have internet access? What can they do?
Okay, so if a resident is unable to make their own appointment via the internet, we have a staff phone line from 7:45 to 4:30 Monday through Friday, and the staff will, when they call 768-3200 option 0, we'll make an appointment for them, and then we'll send them the confirmation email to ensure that they know when and what date and what they're set to put out.
And how many appointments can a household make in a month? I think you kind of touched upon it earlier.
Yeah, each unit is allowed one appointment per month.
One appointment per month for soft goods, and also one for
Yeah,
metal
correct.
appliances,
Excuse
right?
me. Yeah, it's actually each address is able to make an appointment for 5, the soft goods, and then 1 for white goods.
And
yeah.
again, a total of 7 altogether, 2 major appliances, metal appliances, and 5 soft bulky items.
That's correct.
Good, good, good. Soft bulky items and major appliances scheduled separately. Now, why is that?
We'd schedule it separately because there's 2 different crews that collect the different commodities. So with metals, or like the white goods, they contain refrigerant. They have to be handled differently. The other items that are what we call soft goods, which are the furniture, lumber, carpet, as we touched on earlier, are collected in a rear loader, and they're taken to H-Power for disposal.
Gotcha, gotcha. What is the proper way for residents to set out their bulky items? A lot of people just put them out close to the curb, but not, or they'll place it behind cars and things. What is the proper way to set out a bulky item?
That's a good question. So they should, when we set out bulk items for collection, to ensure that we're not being, they need to not be blocked, like you said, by a vehicle. They can put it by the driveway apron, which is, 3 feet on either side of the driveway. Mm-hmm. And they should always be set out either the evening prior to the scheduled date or in the morning prior to 6 a.m. on the morning of collection.
Now, we hear this a lot. We get a lot of phone calls on this, and I'm sure your office does downstairs as well. If a homeowner sees illegal dumping occurring or has already taken place, like they wake up the next morning and they notice a bunch of illegal dumped items in front of their property, what should they do?
Okay, so if a person is witnessing illegal dumping, that's a crime in progress. They should contact or call 911, police non-emergency, and provide as much detail as they can, such as the description of the make, model of the vehicle, the description of the suspect, the location, of course, the time, and then if it has already been dumped and they don't know who had done it, or they just, like you said, wake up in the morning and it's there, they should report it to our refuse inspector office, and that they can call 768-5220.
768-5220 to report that.
Yeah, correct.
And then there will be no fines assessed to that, most likely, right? Because what your inspectors will do will probably go out there and try to determine whose items they are.
Correct. So they're reporting, that they were actually victimized by the dumping. So we don't go after them in that case. We actually encourage them, if that does occur, to report it. And then what we do know is if they can provide details on who may have done it, we'll investigate and then potentially go after that individual.
Now, we've heard about a lot of advantages coming out of this program. Tell the folks out there some of the advantages from this pilot that's been out for the last year.
So from the workforce perspective, or just in general?
In general. Okay,
so for us, one of the main benefits for us was the cost savings. So we no longer just drive around looking for items. We know exactly the location of where they are, and we can go straight there. So it's a savings in fuel. It saves wear and tear on the roads, wear and tear on the vehicles, especially in terms of industrial injury. Prior to the pilot, we had kind of a high rate of industrial injury. Mm. So during the pilot, we had 2 injuries that were relatively minor. They came back. That was a big improvement. We don't want our employees being injured.
And that's a good thing, because it adds up for a lot of times overtime, right? Because somebody else has got to step in their place.
Correct. It was a big cost savings. Yeah. And then for fuel, I don't know if I mentioned that already, but the fuel had been reduced by about a third. The fuel consumption, yeah. So that even, when you look at emissions, we lowered the emissions on, as a total as well.
And I think another thing too, you're talking about, you're trying to educate the public as well. You're trying to change culture. You're trying to change attitudes rather than just grab a piece of furniture and throw it out there. One, you said earlier, look for some way to reuse it. And 2, just change the habits out there of just not coming in and throwing stuff out at random all the time. Just make an appointment so it's kind of scheduled.
I not only that, I hope people are learning to buy things that are not, instead of just buying it with the intent of, throwing it away, try and buy something that's more quality, mm-hmm. and take care of it, and then, use it for a longer period of time, if possible.
Now, this is a big program, and it's kind of similar to when we rolled out the 3-cart system way back more than 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure there has to be some educating the public
Oh, yeah.
that's going out there right now.
Yeah. So when we started in the pilot, and then we kind of repeated that again with the island-wide implementation, we go to all the neighborhood boards. We do press releases, website, what would be called modifications for announcement. Like I said, we mailed to all of the impacted residents a letter, both multi-unit and single-family. And then the inspectors and the supervisors are out there in the field. If they see any issues with either their illegal set out or people that may either have asked questions, we have brochures that they can hand off to them and explain how to participate in the program correctly.
Now, we see this a lot of times during the pilot too, but what if somebody adds to their pile or someone else adds to their pile? What happens?
Okay, so if we're unable to collect it, if it's not on the list, we won't collect it, but it should be reported to, like I said, the inspector office again as an illegal dump. So, yeah.
And kind of along those same lines, like if somebody puts out their 5 items and they come out the next morning and there's only 2 of them out there, someone scavenged also their items. Is that okay?
That's fine. We don't, there's not much we can do once the items are set out for collection, they're removed. As long as somebody's, using it, then that's fine with us.
What if, for some reason, the refuse bulky item crew didn't pick up my items on that scheduled day?
So there was a miscollection.
Miscollection, yeah. Either they didn't pick it up for some reason. What should I do?
They should call that number 768-3200 option 0 and let us know, and we'll investigate and look into the reason why it was missed.
And I know sometimes people, this is a lot of transient people here that come and they go a lot of military, a lot of other folks coming and going. What if they cannot wait for the next scheduled bulky and they've got more bulky than they've made their schedule, they got their 5 and they got their other 2, they got their maximum schedule already, but they can't wait for the next month. What should they do?
Okay, so our convenience centers and transfer stations can take any excess material that they may have, and depending on which site, most of them are open from 7 a.m. To 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday or Sunday, depending on the site. But all of that information is on our website at opala.org.
Chris, I'll give you the last word here in our first ever podcast. Anything that we have missed or you'd like to touch upon here for the folks out there, just to give them that extra piece of information that's going to help them out?
For me, I'm grateful that the community in Honolulu specifically embraced the program and did their best in participating correctly. We had some hiccups, but I think over the course of the year, we really saw a big change out there. The illegal dumping had drastically decreased from before, and a lot of those big kind of, I would call them inner city transfer station type piles had disappeared, and I think that was a huge paradigm shift that needed to occur. I'm hoping that when we go island wide, we can see that same, embrace, buy-in from the public. Yeah, and I also appreciate my men too as well. That was a big change for them.
It really
when I
was,
say the men,
wasn't
the working force out there. So, yeah, it's exciting times.
Well, it really is. People are right now able to make their first appointments outside the metro area, started at June 1st. Those appointments now will start to be scheduled starting in July 1, which is just around the corner. So make sure you get out there. If you have any questions, give Chris and his crew a call. I really appreciate everyone behind the scenes working today on our first ever inaugural podcast. For Chris Hirota, I'm Marcus Owens. Aloha.
And we're going to dance it with our hearts, but we're only going to dance it if I say, Opala says. Now you ready to help save Mother Earth?